Okay, we're live.
Okay, great. All right, then I will call the meeting to order. Let's do a roll call, please.
Trustee Lori Lemunion.
Present.
Trustee Thies.
Yes.
Trustee Lazio. Trustee Virgo. We can proceed.
Okay, then we need to look at the agenda and approve the agenda. So,
So
do I second? I'll second. All right, then the agenda has been approved. We have the minutes from September 18th.
Let's go back to the agenda.
I'm sorry?
All in favor.
Oh, all in favor? Okay.
Motion carries.
All right, and now we'll look at the minutes from September the 18th.
move.
All right, and I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Motion
okay.
carries.
All right, the 2024-2025 budget, Friday, that's you?
Yeah, so thanks. So we just got a few slides to kind of step through. So I'm gonna show a few usage stats kind of first, kind of preference, kind of get ahead of the budget, talk a little bit. We'll look at the budgets. We have our Facing the Future event coming up, and we'll hit that at the end. And then if we have any questions, we can talk about those then. So we'll jump into some of the usage stats. So the first one is our public computer and guest Wi-Fi. These are the in-branch services that everybody comes in and uses. I have like 5 years here. You can kind of see the dip during the COVID years there, but it is bouncing back pretty nicely. The 23-24 is a projection, obviously, of where we'll be at the end of the year. But it is coming back pretty nicely, especially the guest Wi-Fi. We think a lot of people switched to using Wi-Fi services during COVID and they just kind of continue to use it. But the PCs are coming back. The PCs are coming back also, just not quite as quick. But yeah, it's looking pretty good on the usage. Same with Wi-Fi and Chromebook to go. You can see a little bit of a dip there, and I will take some of that. We pulled a lot of the Chromebooks in and the Wi-Fi to go devices in this year to get them relabeled and everything, so we could better manage how we get them out to the public and everything. So we did that this year. So it kind of took them out of service for like a couple of months. While we did that, as we pulled them in and out of service, just so we could get a better handle on how many we had and everything. And they are back to full service now.
And that doesn't show the number that are missing?
No, that's how many checkouts we've had this year. We are back to the full 500 Chromebooks and about 150 Chromebooks and 500 hotspots. So yeah, so we're back to full service, and you can see that based on the trends, it is starting to come back. But that's on us for kind of pulling those in and out of service while we get the management stuff under control. So, but yeah, the usage is there. There's 500 service now on the Wi-Fi to go, and there's about 100 holds on it. So there's about 100 people waiting.
So on those Chromebooks, do we wipe them when they come back so that they don't have any viruses or don't have?
So Chromebooks just are in kind of like a permanent guest mode. So anytime somebody ends a session, it just wipes everything as soon as they end it.
So if they downloaded, if they got on their email and did ransom or anything,
it's gone as soon as they're done. The public PCs and everything are the exact same way. As soon as they end a session, it sets them back to new every single time.
Okay.
So nothing is left behind. So they're basically like we built a brand new PC in between each session. So yeah, and the Chromebooks are the same way. We just run them in permanent guest mode. So that's our Wi-Fi to go and Chromebook to go. Looking pretty good. Self-check, we'll be kind of talking about our self-checks in a little bit. This is system-wide usage. So it's about 60%. Obviously, again, you can see the dip during the COVID year when we were kind of closed and doing curbside. But yeah, it's about 60% system-wide. That's about 2.5 million items a year that go through the self-checks. It's a lot. So Yep, so that's the self-checked. And then I have our website stats up here. So this is page views for the entire website. This is all the pages and everything underneath. And you can see it sort of fluctuates depending on what we have going on. Again, 23, 24 is a projection. But yeah, that's our website usage. It's looking pretty steady. So any questions around, I think that's all the stats I had. Any questions around those? Okay. So want to look at budgets. So this is our kind of a history of our budgets going back to 2020. And you can kind of see it. So like the gray is like the core technology budget. It's a little hard to see there. But the gray is the core technology budget. That has like Circe and Microsoft and all of our maintenance stuff in it. The green is the voice data internet. So that's our internet connections, data lines to all the branches. The hotspots are in there, are in that also. Staff use cell phones, all those types of things are in there. And then new this year is the strategic initiatives. It's kind of like the brighter green or yellowy green at the top. And those are things that we need to do new this year that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So that's kind of above and beyond the normal budget. But you can kind of see that the core technology budget and the voice data internet is actually less than it was last year. And it's actually not much higher than in the previous 2 or 3 years. So pretty steady on the budgets over these years. Yeah, just wanted to show that. Any questions about that? Harris?
This is unrelated. Do you see gray there? How many people see gray and how many people?
I see blue, green, and yellow. Blue, green,
I
and
see
yellow.
sort of it's a little blue on my screen. It's like a little
Yeah.
blue gray on my screen.
Depends on
and
which screen.
Depends on what
Yeah.
It's
monitor.
one of those.
Yeah, depends on what
Yeah.
monitor.
It's
It's supposed to be kind of that blue right there is what it's supposed to be. So it looks more bluish on mine. So
So question about the gray blue. So it's down from 23.
yeah, 24. Yeah.
And you'll go into why that is?
Yeah. We'll look at the line items here in just a little bit. Yeah, Ron.
I just had a question about the self-checkouts.
Yeah.
Two maybe kind of related questions. Is there any fear that they might be displacing the need for people assisting in that effort? And if it is there any way to find other positions so obviously they retain their employment?
So you mean self-checks displacing people?
Yeah, like a McDonald's or something like that, right?
No, it's about 60% of our checkouts go through the self-checks. The other 40% go through the desk, and those are normally people that need assistance.
Sure,
with
but
some
the self-checkout isn't threatening somebody's position.
Yeah, no, we've had them for many, many years, and it's never threatened any positions. And normally what happens is those positions are able to go on and help customers do things in the
Great.
branch, find books and do those things. It's not taking away anybody. It actually allows us to use that staff in a better way, actually.
Thank you. Great.
So yeah, no, it hasn't caused any reduction in staff or anything.
Wonderful.
So, no.
Lori, Michael is online now.
Oh, hi, Michael. And.
Hey, hello, everybody.
Hi, Michael.
We have started, and Joycelyn came in right also, so welcome.
I can step back or go whatever we need to do or anything like that. If you want to get-
I'm not sure when you joined. I know if you want to just go back 2 slides, just to
Yeah.
cover those 2 things again.
Yeah, so we've got the self-check usage. I mean, it's pretty simple. I can go. So we have our technology usage. That's our public computer and guest Wi-Fi. The gray or blue is the public computers. The green is the guest Wi-Fi. That's all in branch. And you can see those are coming back well. Wi-Fi and Chromebook to go. The gray or blue is the Wi-Fi to go. And the green is the Chromebooks to go. And like I was telling Lori and Ron, we pulled those, we started kind of pulling those out of service a little bit this year, so we could get a handle on how many we had and relabel them and do all that kind of stuff. And so that's why I think the numbers are less. But you can see the Wi-Fi to goes are coming back. Those are all projected numbers, obviously, but The numbers are coming back pretty nicely. We have 500 in service now, like we're supposed to have, and there is 100 on hold. There's 100 people waiting for them. So those are getting used heavily. The Chromebooks, there are some holds, but there are some available too. So we have about 150 of those. Self-check, this is system-wide usage. So about 60% system-wide usage on self-checks. That's about 2.5 million items every year that go through those. And then the website obviously is, these are all page views for the entire site, like all the sub pages, everything. That's why the numbers are kind of big. And it just kind of varies depending on what we have going on the site, but pretty steady usage. And then we looked at the kind of the history of the budgets also. And so the gray is the core technology budget. That's all of our service contracts, software licensing, everything in there. The green is the voice data internet. And then the bright green or yellowy kind of green is kind of the strategic initiatives that we want to pursue this next year. So it's kind of new things that we need to do. So yeah, and you can kind of see that the core technology budget and the voice data internet is really not growing that much. So at all, actually, this year. So, okay. So the core budget, so we've got the 23-24 budget numbers there, and then kind of what we project to spend. So a little bit less than what we budgeted. Most of that is in, so CRC came in a little bit less, but it'll be more next year. Adobe came in a little bit less, but it'll be more. Everything's kind of going up. We changed some of our licensing structures this year with them. Communico is another one. They did do our app, but we no longer have an app with them. We do that through BiblioCommons. We changed app vendors mid-year. And then the last thing was VMware, which is our virtual servers and all of our hosting. That licensing is going to change, and it was less, but it is going to be more again next year. So we're changing our licensing on that. That accounted for most of the change between the budget and the projected spending. You can see next year for 24-25, we have the total down at the bottom budget request. And really the numbers don't change a whole lot there between the years. The big thing is like the new replacements and upgrades. We bought 300 laptops this year that won't be in there next year. So that's why the new replacements and upgrades is quite a bit less. So that's the big difference in there. Any questions there?
So the application software that you're projecting for next year, are those three that are increasing, which will bring it up 100, basically 140,000?
It'll bring it up about 70, yeah, from what we budgeted last year. Yeah, CRC goes up, Microsoft's going up quite a bit. Microsoft's going up about 20% next year. They're dumping their EDU licensing for libraries. You have to go government licensing. So it's going to go up quite a bit. We are going to work on the number of devices we have and everything with them to make sure that we keep those costs in line. And Alan, our IT managers, work pretty heavily with them on that. Yeah, so there's some definite software licensing things going up in there. All of our endpoint device monitoring and everything for antivirus, all of that is actually going up quite a bit next year.
Are you taking bids for other vendors or?
Yeah, we did actually. So yeah, so we are switching vendors on that stuff. And there is a strategic need for some monitoring too that we'll talk about in a little bit also for this from the cybersecurity side.
From like the managed services?
Yep.
Like, okay,
Yep.
So and who's doing our managed services now?
We do it right now. Our request is that we have a company actually monitor some of this stuff for us.
Right.
So yeah.
So we're doing our own security monitoring, but who's managing like the cloud storage and stuff?
We do. So, yeah. You mean like from a security standpoint? and everything?
No, like normally, like whoever is hosting our cloud storage is
So-
offering some type of security, so that's.
So most of our services like CRC, Blackbaud, all of our primary services that we have, like our application software, is hosted by whoever provides the service. It's not, we didn't take all of our services and put it in AWS like Amazon Web Services or some other hosting. It's hosted by whoever provides the service. So like our website is hosted by a company. Blackbaud is hosted by Blackbaud. CRC hosts our patron authentication and book database server. BiblioCommons, our online catalog, hosts that service, so it's all over the place. We don't have one centralized place where we store everything, and most of it's because all of this is becoming software as a service. Whoever provides the service hosts the service. The rest of it is email, and that's all in Microsoft, in the cloud with Microsoft, and then everybody has their own like personal OneDrive accounts and everything to store their stuff in. So, and that's the part that we kind of.
So where are you worried mostly about security breaches then? Like,
It's probably at the account level, like somebody breaching an account. Or we still have some hosted stuff here, but most of our primary stuff is not hosted here anymore.
are we working with any companies to do phishing campaigns to?
Yeah, we actually did one this year. We used Microsoft to do that, the phishing campaign. So, yes.
Because the education, I mean, like 99% of all phishing attacks are somebody clicking on something that they weren't supposed to.
We do have two-factor authentication on pretty much everything. On all of our servers, all of our network devices, all of our accounts require two-factor authentication. We do an annual audit of all of our accounts. We do annual penetration testing of our network and all of our servers. And then we also have, full antivirus suite on all of our devices and everything, but that is changing to a new company. And then we would like to have some monitoring of accounts and everything also. And then we also do security awareness training for all staff.
And what about like, do we have a policy for ransomware? does
We're working on that right now.
Okay.
So, yep, we are working on that right now.
Because I know that, some advantages are by having shared devices, like things.
Yeah.
We can, if somebody does get that, it doesn't maybe grab as much information.
There's not that much hosted here anymore. I mean, it's either email and Microsoft or OneDrive. And like I said, all of our primary services are hosted outside here by whoever provides the service. So not much of it is hosted here anymore. So yeah, so we're just down to trying to protect our accounts and our end user devices and the few servers we have left here. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. But we do a lot of things. We don't have a formal policy, and we are working on that right now. We do have cybersecurity insurance also. We have to follow a lot of guidelines from them as far as two-factor authentication and admin access to servers in the room and all of that kind of stuff. So we do follow all their guidelines.
Not to stray too far off course, but Brian's team is also working on a suite of policies as they relate to technology. So
Yeah.
in addition to ransomware, there's other ones related to emerging technologies and how we use them. So we'll share those with you in the coming months.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah.
Sounds like you're doing a good job.
So that's all part of that. That's all part of that.
Yeah.
So it's spread out there. And, we do have an offsite. I don't like to say where it is. We do have a disaster recovery site. We do all of our backups and replication are all done through that. So that's all in that also. So. So voice data internet, you can see the budget from last year, and then you can see the projected. We are a little bit over, and I'll explain that. So this year we pretty much changed out all of our internet services, data lines. We changed all of our telephone lines, like the old analog telephone lines, to cellular service. We did budget a little bit more to try and cover that, because when you're changing contracts and you're changing vendors, you kind of have to have both in play at the same time while you're making the change. It just took us a lot longer to get it done than we thought we would. I think we bit off a little bit more than we could chew this year a little bit with that. So it was a little bit slower than I would have liked. I can say that we did get a credit from one of the vendors from this process, Windstream. We got an $18,000 check back from them on that. So it'll help cover some of that overage that we did this year. But next year, everything is strictly under contract. We're not changing anything. We know what the prices are. It should be very status quo next year on the budget.
So I know we were talking about like, and I'm assuming it's part of this, I just want to, so with our elevators that needed to be, you got
Mhm.
all of those converted over, so
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
of those lines are done.
Yeah, fax lines, elevator lines,
Okay.
security stuff's all been switched over.
So we're in compliance for those.
Yep,
type of things.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Awesome.
Brian, the other upside to that is with the digital service, that should reduce our phone costs.
oh, a lot.
Because the landlines are more expensive.
They're way more
Yeah.
expensive. They're way more expensive. They really don't want us using them anymore. They're charging a couple $100 a line in some cases. And so we really need to get rid of those fast.
Have all of our desk phones been at all of the branches and in here been removed so that they have just everything's over the computer for using?
We still have a bunch of desk phones primarily in the branches because they're in a very shared environment. They don't, a lot of them out there don't have their own PCs. They just sit down by whatever is in front of them and do their work. And so they still have a lot of shared, and also because they need a desk phone in case a customer calls in. You know, that's the central number that they call. And also we don't want to have a phone license for all 800 staff. It's very expensive.
No,
It's all.
and so they're all VoIP phones.
They have been for many years. They have been for many years. We were with Skype and then Teams, and that's what we use for all of our voice now. We're pretty baked into Microsoft when it comes to that stuff. So it's all Teams based. Most everybody in here kind of uses their laptops and everything, but in the branches or departments that have a lot of shared stuff, they still have a phone. So yeah. But really no phone cost as far as, you know, desktop phones or anything like that. It's all part of Microsoft. But you do have to have an individual user license. And you can see the hotspots in there also with T-Mobile. And then we do have staff use cell phones and hotspots that are in there.
So in the past, we've gotten a grant to help us cover the hotspots. That was just for, was it for 1 year?
This is like about the first year and a half, actually, that the grants covered the hotspots. But we haven't had any sets for those. So.
And so I mean, I'm just asking, like, so T-Mobile is who we have them through. Are they the least expensive? Has there been any, like, I mean, I just wondered if because we have quite a few of them, 1,500, isn't
They're
it?
500.
Oh, 500.
Yeah, 500. They're like $30 a month. And they're probably not the cheapest, but they have great coverage now. So they tend to provide the best coverage for everybody out there. They also don't charge for replacements. And a lot of services do. And there are plenty of services out there that you can get T-Mobile hotspots, but they will manage them for you, but they will charge you a replacement cost for them. And right now we don't get charged that. So. So T-Mobile has been wonderful to work with. I will say that. And I'm always willing to switch. I'm not afraid to change vendors or anything, but they have been good to work with.
Yeah, great.
So
Great to
they're
hear.
very into this, helping us have devices for people to use. So,
Awesome.
yeah. And then last is our strategic initiatives. That was the big yellow-green area at the top. So we are going to do kind of a refresh to the website this year, or we would like to. It really kind of needs to be done, and most of that is in the navigation of the website. We've done quite a few usability studies. So the primary nav, the mobile navigation, we have a lot more people using mobile devices now than we did. So we need to refresh the mobile experience a little bit on the site. There will be some other refreshes coming as far as card layouts and how the cards look and feel and work on the site. But most of that work we're doing in-house with our own developers. But the navigation refresh is all going to be done by the company that hosts our website for us. Then we have the patron self-checkout stations, which are 11 and 12 years old now. They are very old. That number is based on an RFQ that we did last year for vendors. We just put it out and let vendors respond. We did have 5 responses from vendors. That one's based on one of the more expensive ones, and only so we could we needed it for a budgetary reasons. That's why we did the RFQ. Year 1 is always going to be probably a little bit more than the rest of the years because you'll have installation and all of that. But we will be doing another RFP, a full RFP to select a vendor. We're not just going to go off the RFQ. We're going to put an RFP out and send it to a bunch of vendors, and we'll have a selection committee to choose who we're going to use. We have 120 self-checks now. We're going to decrease that to 75. So it's about a 35% decrease in the number of self-checks. So that's that line item. Years 2 going forward will be less than that, generally. The next line is for the public PC time and print management. So this is when somebody walks in and signs into a PC, it's that software that manages that for us. Authenticates the user, sets the time limit, any printing that they need to do is all handled by that software and hardware. It's very old, kind of like the self-checks. It's even older than the self-checks, but it's worked great. But the printing side is what is really suffering with that software. So that also facilitates any printing that somebody wants to come in and use their phone or their laptop. And it just doesn't work with a lot of modern devices. And we really need to get it replaced. So that's another one that we would like to go out and do, is get that software updated. It'll work with Chromebooks and just a lot more devices. It'll allow us to be more flexible about what we provide people to use in branch also. Should be nice. And then you can see the account and endpoint security 24/7 monitoring. That's what we were talking about earlier. This is with a company called NTP. And they provide, they have all the security specialists to monitor our accounts and our endpoint devices. So all of our devices will be checking in with them. And they'll be able to see our accounts. So if anything happens, they can take action on it, or they can alert our IT staff. Hiring a cybersecurity specialist is kind of an expensive person to hire, and they have all the specialists they need on staff to monitor our accounts for us. And so that would be, those would all.
Do they?
Go ahead.
Do they specialize in libraries in TP?
No, they're just like general security specialists.
Okay.
So, yep. Because they could hook into our Microsoft 365, and then we'll have their software on all of our desktops. We already do. And then they could see all of that, and they could take action as far as scrubbing PCs or telling us that something's going on, or an account has been accessed or hacked. They could see all of that. So, and they'll see it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's
So,
expensive to have, but it's more expensive not to have.
yeah, no, it is.
Absolutely.
That's our thing. It's like, we could have a person, but that's all they would do.
Yeah.
Is that, and they would be pretty expensive. So this is, all day, every day, all year round. They would.
And that's for, so did you go out and get like an RFQ for that?
We did an RFP for it.
Or an RFP, okay.
Yeah. So. Yep. So then the next one down is Teams rooms for branch and HQ collaboration. So it's kind of like a monitor. And then it has like a Teams bar on it so that the branches could take it into an office or into a workroom and do collaboration between the branches. We don't really have anything like that. If they want to sit in on a meeting, they all have to sit around a laptop and participate in the meeting. So it would be sort of a team setup like this, but it would be a mobile one. They could just roll into a room, and it would have a monitor on it and have a collaboration bar on top. So it's a big dollar amount, but we'd be buying 40 of them. So I think they're about $3,000 each to do a setup for a branch, but and a department, but it'd be like times 40. That's why it's kind of expensive. So
Just another note about that. So Jim's team will be doing or investing more time in development work for staff. And one of the priorities of the library is to bring branch staff closer together. And as Brian mentioned, right now, when we do training or development work online, everyone's in like a little box, right? Like sitting at their desk. And my preference is that you create more opportunity for people to work together as a group. So both at the branch level and across branch to other sites within our system. And this will enable us to do just that. I think it's a worthwhile investment.
Absolutely not. Is this just for internal or will people, because I mean,
For internal.
okay, because
It's for
we have
internal.
some of those gigantic rooms
Yeah.
that, you know, some of the could eventually be used
Yeah, sure.
from that, but I agree 100%. That's something that you need for a collaboration for the teams, just to see people.
Yeah, as Aaron said, we're trying to get more people to collaborate at the same time, and sitting around a laptop is not ideal to do that. And so that's why we have that in there. And just because of our size, when you gotta buy 40 of them, it actually costs a little bit extra. We would like to update some of the AV in this room. So that's another line item that we have in here. So not sure exactly what route that's going to take, but we need to investigate kind of helping get that up to date in here. So
And then just on that one, having been an end user, the user experience is substandard. We want to make some investments so you have a better understanding of who's speaking, and kind of a clear line of sight on the board. And we've received some feedback from the community about the audio and people struggling to kind of make to hear. So we think an upgrade is needed, which is why that's in the budget.
Yeah.
Right, well, and having like teams, whoever's speaking, it zooms in like whenever you're doing that, so that'll help also with the teams meetings.
Yep.
Devices, so.
So we've got that in there. And then we have events rooms and services reservation software. So we have that now, but it's in-house built. We built the software ourselves, and it's missing online payment. So people cannot pay for their room or their any reservation like that online. So we're going to investigate a lot of options there to find out what we can do. The main thing we don't want to do is we don't want to build our own e-commerce solution and be responsible for that. So we're going to go out and kind of go shopping for something. We don't know what exactly that's going to look like yet. We might be able to get some services that we can bake into ours, or we may just have to look at something else. It's unfortunate because our events and room system is actually very good. It's something Nathan Whitmire and his group built, and it's really good, but it just lacks the online payment and some of that. So we're going to try and see what we can do about merging all those together. It would merge probably our passport reservations and notary reservations all into one thing. So we're gonna try and figure that out this year also.
And there's hidden savings with this one also. So the time it takes to process a payment
Yeah. Yeah.
requires that staff divert attention away from addressing a need of a patron that's in front of you and processing a payment.
It's fairly clunky.
Yeah, and then more importantly, it gives more agency to our patrons, right? So if you want to reserve a room, you're free to do so, and you can do it on your phone or online. We'll also be revising some of our policies to remove barriers to access. So more of our meeting room space will be available to a larger audience of people, and this will streamline that process.
Well, and it also offers more security if you're having to give your credit card to somebody over the phone.
Absolutely.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
it's like it just sets us up for a lot less liability.
Credit card swipes at the desk, but it's still a little clunky how it works. So yeah,
Huge time saver.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we would like to do is figure out how to do that. And then the last is the digitization software. And Aaron, could you talk a little bit more about that one?
Right, so you saw some of the videos that we produced, those 4 videos, and that's kind of a sliver of the work that we intend to do over the coming year. But to build a digitization department that documents local history. Some investment will be needed in software. And I think maybe hardware down the road. The reason why the number is so modest at this point is we think you really need to get a project lead in place first, to kind of evaluate what our needs are, and then go from there. So year one, modest investment in software and some contracted services, but as we move forward, there may be a need for additional investment in hardware.
So is it mostly for media, is it gonna go hand in hand with our website? We're gonna put those videos out there? Is that kind of
Right,
like
and
PR?
well, no, I envision us building a collection of sorts, right? That tells the story of the three counties, beginning in modern times. I'm not talking about looking so far back that we're, Lewis and Clark type stuff, which there's, plenty of opportunity there if you want, if you're interested. But so the software itself, it could be some post-production software. Also, an investment probably needs to be made in hosting services so you can access that information online. One thing I did notice here is we have a lot of great work happening throughout the system, but it's not centralized in one place. So you have Storyteller Center, doing digital storytelling, you have MGC. And then with the addition of this third group, I think it makes sense to bring it all together and really think about a way public can easily access this information online, which is why we have this number here.
What brand of software are you looking at? Do you know?
Well, I mean, within it, we were looking at Content DM. Maybe there might be a need for additional Creator Suite licenses. There's a longer list that I can share with you. But again, you really need the person, the
To
expert
have
in place.
them
And
there.
elsewhere in contracted services, we did peel off, I don't know, 30,000 or so to hire a consultant first to kind of help us figure out where we want to go. And then an additional staff member to really drive the work forward.
Mhm. I'm just gonna say, whomever we're dealing with our website, before we do a website refresh, we really need to have that PR person in place because otherwise you're gonna do a lot of redoing because whomever is like, if they have a lot of things that their content that they're gonna wanna help us grow in that area.
Sure, we'll have to look at some of that, yeah. Some of the website refresh though, is really just around the navigation and usage, mobile navigation and everything, are things we're gonna update. Integrating some of that in with another platform shouldn't be too bad.
I'd sure like to have a video that says what we offer. I feel like I learn something every time.
Yeah, no, I know,
I
it's a
didn't even know
lot,
we offered that.
it's a lot.
I do want to manage expectations. The website refresh is exactly that. It's not a complete rebuild,
Yeah, it's,
which would be 2 or 3 times that amount.
oh yeah, easily,
To it, so,
easily.
And the content is still managed in-house, it's the framework.
right,
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you're talking about.
Yeah, there's some different solutions out there to do that, so we really need somebody to go through the whole selection process and help us get there, so. I think that was it on the budget stuff. So the last thing is, we have our Facing the Future series. We had one of those events this past Saturday with Tobias from Stockwell. It went very well. We had a good turnout for it at the auditorium at Woodney. Just had a great time doing that this Saturday. So our next one is Cashmere Hill, Thursday, June 20th at 6. And it's also at the auditorium at Woodney. And she is a New York Times journalist, and she has her own book called Your Face Belongs to Us. It's about facial recognition and how companies are using all of that, and how different devices are using all of that. And so she will be here in June to do another part of this series. And then we also have we'll have an event in August with the KCAI Club. And it's going to be a panel discussion And so we're still working on who the panelists are going to be for that event. And I think it's going to be at Woodney also, I believe. And then we're also working on another event probably in mid to late September to bring in. But yeah, this is a really great series. We're talking about algorithms and AI and social media and privacy and security. All these events will be talking about that. And like I said, the turnout for the event Saturday was really good and everybody seemed to really enjoy it. The author was really nice to do a book signing afterwards. So we had a lot of books for him to sign for people. So it turned out really nice. So it was a good afternoon with Tobias. So yeah, that's our next event is June 20th.
And I want to commend Brian and his team for putting together this series. One added benefit to it is the relationships that we've developed with KCAI. So back to our policies and best practices when it comes to using these technologies. This is one group that's helping us kind of push the library forward. So you and I have spoken about how these are used at the workplace, and KCI actually has worked on these like frameworks for organizations that could guide us in developing policies and procedures. And it's turned out to be of great benefit to the library, and they're a great partner. So great work, Brian.
Yep, yeah, and Erin Kennedy. So she did
Yes.
a great job putting that event together for us, and we had a lot of help, a ton of help. So there's a bunch of names we could name off, but we had a lot of help to get it done. So, but yeah, so yeah, great event. We're looking forward to the next one. I think that one's going to be pretty interesting also.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be, and especially there's a lot of things that because of how fast, like we've seen technology go fast, but not ever as fast as it is right now. And
Yeah.
especially with AI and all of the changes and all of the, you've got different chatbots, you've got AI creating things. And it's like, well, we got to keep up. So I'm glad that we're doing something. Thank you,
That's
Brian.
what we have. We have Erin Kennedy. She was our strategic planning person here, and she actually is leading a new digital innovation department that works with me. And so that's their focus, is to do things like this and to do more programming in branch around these type of new technologies. So yeah, so looking forward to that also. So I think that's all. Yeah, I think that's all I had. So
All right.
yep.
So, oh, Ron, I'm sorry, I didn't know you had a question.
I just want to reiterate what Brian said. The presentation Saturday at Beneath was just fantastic. Great credit must be given to Brian and Jim and Diana and Katie, and Erin Kennedy was just remarkable. It was so incredibly well done. I didn't understand any of it, but it was congratulations.
Tobias did a great job. So
Yeah.
it was good to have him. So
Right. Cody, do we have any visitors? Don't believe so.
Teresa,
Right?
did we have any?
No, I do not have any visitors, nor do I have any correspondence from me.
All right, thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Cody. All right, so let's talk about other business, and you can see I have some fabulous brochures that I picked up that I wanted to talk about. This one is when we had a long time ago, we were talking about building the airport. We had talked about possibly putting in like a little mobile library out there. And they actually had a vendor that had these kiosks that are little mobile libraries, and people can check out books, like if they're flying, and then check them back in. And it's basically a complete library that they put in there. They can download ebooks. They can also get hard copy books. And so I just thought I would show you this. I priced it just to kind of get an idea of how much one of them costs, and they're like $65,000.
Yeah.
So it is a significant, and then of course it would take a resource to, restock it either once a month or whatever. But I just thought it was something that we had mentioned in the past. And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna, while I'm there, look at that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is there is an enrichment kind of like goes along with what the library was talking about under a security perspective. And they have a program that is set up for um, I think this is the wrong one. I think this is not the one I wanted it to be, but it's a cybersecurity one that they have security that is for kids, you know, to teach them
Hmm.
like to be responsible. And I thought this was it, but I think this is I'll have to look back through this to see if this is the one that I thought it was or if that's a craft one. I got some other craft things. Michelle and I went to a couple of booths about crafts that they have technology where you can check out like kind of like a YouTube university, but it's more like, hey, this is a project you could work on.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. I just wanted to mention it because I don't think that we currently offer something like that. But they had cooking projects, sewing projects, and the cooking projects I thought kind of went hand in hand with our one of our big fork project, you know?
Culinary
And so-
center.
Yeah, the whole culinary center and but it has like cooking, like you can, so instead of having to have classes there, they can even take the classes online. And it's like already generated material that they do. And it was just something that I found very interesting. The other one that I wanted to just mention, this was a charity, a philanthropy that just started literally the week of PLA. And it is they do recycling of books, like old books, and they do a bunch of different, like they help sell goods, they do a bunch of different things. You can make donations. It's really an interesting, thing that they work together and it just started. And so I grabbed the material of it because I thought it was something that maybe we might be interested in. The other two things are just, I got these just because I was like, oh, this is very interesting. I think I showed Brian one of these. And this is Saving Broken Books. And it's like like a plastic that like a tape that goes over the books. And we have, you saw it too. It was very interesting. The guy was extremely charismatic. His whole personality was like how excited he was about saving broken books. But I did get some information. I don't know what we currently use, but this was kind of a not as expensive as some of the things. But then they also have a genealogy, like for the genealogy books, they have like binders so that people can print like their family history and then bind it into a book. And it was something that I got. So I can pass those around, or you guys are welcome to look at that. But that one was, I'm sorry, say it again, Michael?
Oh, I think it was me. I think I have their card.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember looking at that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was, I mean, it was very interesting and their prices were like a machine, they have as low as $499 up to $1,295 for a machine that would do like I think it was a 2.5 inch book. And then they had some that were even bigger than that. But the most exciting thing that I want to share, and Aaron, Brian, I think maybe well, I know Michelle, I know we all went to this because we're very, very excited. And we were talking about our kiosks and, you know, replacing the kiosks. And part of that, we found a company that has been in Australia. They also serve Singapore, which is the largest library in the world. And they do two things that we're kind of in need of. And one of them is kiosks. And instead of replacing kiosks and having to send our kiosks to a landfill or whatever we would have to do, they actually upgrade the kiosk and could retrofit it to RFID capabilities. And in doing that, it is a much less expensive option than replacing the whole unit. And they would put in like all new readers, and then they would have the RFID. So people would just, instead of having to check out each book individually, they would do kind of like what our front desks do now. It has an RFID board. They just put their stack of books out and it would check them all out at once.
That's what that was. Yeah.
And so,
Our current.
We still do that now.
We do that now.
oh, on the
Mhm.
kiosk.
You can
Okay.
just put your books in there and check it
Yeah,
out.
and so it does a lot of different, I just got the card. I'm not saying that, I just think it's something that we at least need to look at to do them.
We absolutely.
And then they have, the upgraded software. So this one was very exciting. The other thing that we were looking at is the sorter at Woodneath has kind of outdone its lifestyle. Life history, lifespan, thank you, that's the word. I was like, wait, that's not the word, not lifestyles, lifestyle too, maybe. And this company also does an EVO sorter system. And their sorter system is a much smaller and it has very few parts. So like the Singapore libraries use it. And the Singapore library, what we learned from this guy, which was very interesting, and I think Aaron, you and I were there, is they have machines that will go up and down the aisle and tell you which books are out of system, they'll
Yeah.
tell you exactly what's out. They do a lot of really amazing things. But their sorters, they've got some that are 20 years old and they are very small, like compared to how big the footprint is. And so it's just something that I was very excited about this. They're just new to the United States, but they've been around for over 20 years. Like I said, they're Australia, Singapore, and the APAC region. So that was a good contact. And so I was very excited to get to go to PLA and get to meet a lot of the vendors and hear, I brought too many books home and I have a bunch of library books and stuff that I got for my branch and I haven't had a chance to take this huge bag of stuff. I got you guys all freebies. So I'm going to go up to my library and give that. But it was a really interesting way to see a lot of the new technologies and new things that are out there. And I already read one of my new books. I finished it last night, which was called Pride and Preston Lee. Preston Lee, which was an Asian version of Pride and Prejudice, which bravo to the author. She did a great job.
The PLA was great, and having more eyes on the exhibitor floor was really a benefit. So both Lori and Michelle worked their way around and became instant celebrities. But getting your feedback, I think, helped us kind of broaden our perspective of what's being offered. And so back to the budget that was presented. These are numbers without commitments, right? Based on our best guess as to what the cost of certain services will be. So we're evaluating many of the vendors that you mentioned and others as well. And then further down the road, we'll come back with a recommendation. But all of these groups are very impressive and I got a lot out of it. So thank you for taking time to go and meet people on the exhibit floor. We really appreciate it. Yeah.
It was very educational.
And back to the crafting one, I think Richie and Kristen also bumped into that vendor and found it pretty interesting. So we'll see where it goes.
There were two different ones. And then, if I could pick anything from the floor, that was the most impressive thing. It was those giant light brights. I'm like, where can we put this?
I think I told you.
Where can we
You've seen
put
that?
that?
It's really cool.
Did you see the giant light brights? So they had different sizes. They were some as big as this screen, some as big as that screen. And they had these long, clear tubes. And then they had a black panel, like what a light bright looks, and you just put these tubes in and then there's light behind them and you can make these pictures. Did you see them?
Yeah, it was very cool.
Oh, I actually got a little card, but I think I left it in my house. I was using it as a bookmark last night in my book.
There was another vendor that had a giant Etch-a-Sketch also.
Yeah, that was sketch.
That was also
Oh,
really
yeah,
cool.
they had so many cool things. There was actually two companies that did Light Bright. One of them was like 6,000, one of them was 16,000. I was like, wow, I like the $6,000 Light Bright just as much as the one that was 16, but still they were the cool things and the like the furniture, like they had so many cool furniture pieces and things that kind of go hand in hand with the libraries and the kids and making fun places for them to sit and read. I think those were the things that I came around with that say this was very it was very well thought out, the things that they had on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, well. We'll be looking at this, and again, thank you for attending, it was great.
It's good. It was
I
good.
don't know if you plan on going to ALA, but that exhibit floor is
Three
even
times as
bigger,
big.
yeah.
Yeah, that one is in June, correct?
Yeah.
I don't think I can make that one.
You already got your share of sunshine this year, you don't need any more.
I have such a traveling agenda. If I would have known I was gonna go back to back Australia, Colorado, and then PLA, my work's like, come back.
Well, and then just one last thing, the draft budget detail will be on board docs, so you'll be able to kind of dig into that if you're interested.
Yeah, well, Brian, I really appreciate the work that you've done for that, and I know that, technology is, I know the buildings are what, everybody looks at and is like, oh, that's a great library, but if our technology is not there to keep us at the forefront of what's the fastest, what's the best use of our resources, because of how fast technology changes, you see things that, how quickly things, 10 years, it's like, wow, that's so obsolete, And I think that I appreciate that the staff, so many of you were able to go to that to look around some of the things, because just like when you're seeing what do other libraries use, how is what processes are you using that's faster, that's more efficient, that's a good use of our resources, and you see what they're doing. The one thing I wish that PLA offered was more of like a panel of like what's working at your library. Like I didn't see that offered. There's a lot of classes, but I didn't see a lot of like what are you doing, like efficiency in the library? Like if there was like a panel or something on that, that would have been one of the things I would have liked to have seen, so that other libraries can share kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, kind of depends on what theme they're going for that year.
Yeah.
As to what's there, but yeah,
And we do see a lot of that on the ULC side.
yeah.
Urban Library Council.
Yeah.
And that, in that context, it's more relevant to a place like Mid-Continent, because many of the systems that present are our size or even larger.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of good intel that way.
Yeah, but the technology is there, and as technology is changing, like with this company that was talking about like how the Singapore library does it, and it's like, oh, we have a long way to grow to be at that, to be at that level, but as we're growing, it's nice to have maybe this is where we want to be in the future, because it helps us set goals for ourselves of, how do we get to that point? Because, oh, that's what you're doing and I'm not doing that yet. How can we get there? How can we grow to there to make, the best use of our resources and restocking our shelves and making sure things that are, placed, what's it called? Not shelving. Yeah, maybe it is shelving, where the books are placed where they're supposed to be.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And so, the robots that they were showing that were going up and down the aisles, it's like, wow, that's very cool. That's very cool.
And this is exactly why we put Aaron Kennedy in place, with the digital innovation team. So, we feel that there's really a need to have a dedicated staff who's looking at that, both on patron education, but also on the back end as to where we could be more efficient. So they're doing both of those things simultaneously. And earlier you spoke about security training for young people, but in the fall, you will see a media literacy campaign and curriculum available to the public that will address many of these issues that you just spoke of.
Yeah, well, it's, I have my dad, who lives with me, and I'm like, Dad, don't click on that. You've got to be careful. They're not, people are very trusting, and it is amazing how easy it is to, and one click can cause such a huge issue for, the device that's on, and if it's attached too much to the system, how it can do, if it's with banking, if it's with, some of these different things. So I think that's a good goal for us to have.
Yep.
Does anybody else have anything they wanted to talk about? Oh, go ahead.
Brian, I had a question. One program that I had a real pleasure to see was the program by which people can earn a legitimate high school diploma.
Mhm.
And that's in your department or your general area.
Yes, it is we take care of it. Yeah, the budget for it comes out of the materials budget. The electronic
We're not
resources.
too stingy on that.
Yeah,
That's-
oh, no, it's still
that's so
there.
dear and impactful to so many
It's
people.
definitely still there.
It's
Can
still
you give
there.
them a little bit of an update as to where we are this year?
I could look at the stats. We've had quite a few graduates and we keep running out of scholarships to give out. So I do know that's happening. Let me see if I can get to the stats page here.
And what are the scholarships for, like for paying for it? Or-
Yes.
Yeah. So and we do that with Kansas State Public and Literacy KC. So there's three of us in that partnership providing that program. So we split the cost for the scholarships. We buy them in packs of 20, and so like this last year we did 40 scholarships, and we went through those pretty quick. But I got to find the page about it.
I guess the last I heard in a very general sense is that we've quickly run out of seats, so there's demand for it, and at a state level, this program is supported. And we want to make as many seats available as possible.
Yeah,
If
they
you've never attended a graduation,
it's very good.
I highly recommend it. It's truly, it's a beautiful experience.
So we have, so since the beginning of the program in 2016, we've had 145 graduates. We have 99 students enrolled right now. We've awarded 60 scholarships this year so far, and we've had 12 graduates, 20 graduates. So yeah, so pretty good. We're pretty good, and we don't really promote it that much either. It just has a life of its own. Yeah. But yeah,
I
so
wonder what it would be if we did.
yeah, it's a pretty good program. So yeah, and like I said, we partner with Kansas City Public and Literacy KC.
I would like to see the stats broken down like by, like, who's our oldest graduates, you know, and who's our.
Able to get some of that.
I mean, that's really exciting that someone would go back.
It is an adult program.
Yeah, I mean, that's
It is
just really
focused on
exciting though,
adults.
that somebody
Yeah.
can go
I'd
back
like to
and,
see the numbers increase. It seems like there is need.
Yeah.
It's a huge need.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we've had that many people, we have 99 people enrolled in it right now, that's a
Yep.
huge need.
Fun.
I just want to mention, the first graduation I saw was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when I wouldn't
Mhm.
And it was very reminiscent of a typical high school graduation. We had a speaker and people came up for the diplomas. But after that, everybody headed south to the big gathering space. And what is, to me anyway, absolutely unforgettable is that we had the graduates, all of whom were young adults, moms and dads. But the kids were absolutely like Christmas morning. There was such a sense of accomplishment and pride in the mom and the dad and just an intense sense of satisfaction. It just oozed all over the hallways of going down. And it was that and the pictures that Teresa has in the walls, I think, really puts into focus why we're all here.
It's a great program.
Fabulous.
Great program. Yep.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
All right, then I think that I can make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, then all in favor of adjourning? Do we have to vote on adjourning?
Yes.
All right, aye.
Unanimous.
Michael, do you say aye?
Usually.
Aye, aye.
Thank you, Michael, for joining
Michael.
us.
Hey, thank you for everything. Brian, and I should have made these comments earlier, but Brian, thank you. You've done an amazing job. You really
Thank you.
have, and
Yeah.
it's so amazing. Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you very much, Michael. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Cody.